I think the way we've defined our education system is we've focused very much on the written word, first of all. And then we do focus on math and science as well. But we have this notion that every child learns the same way, should learn the same way. If they were intelligent, they would learn the same way. And the fact is, when we look around, what you're seeing is that every child has very different strengths and gifts, but they've all got them. They're all perfectly capable of learning. They're all perfectly capable of doing things that are very creative and gifted and add value to the world. But right now, we've structured our education system in a very narrow way. And it actually only works for a very narrow percent of the population. And as I showed, the sad thing is that that percent of the population is also harmed by some of the myths that we talk about. First myth is that if you're not a top student, you must not be hardworking, gifted, or intelligent. That's the first myth. The second one is that if you are a top student, it'll lead to a great life. And the third one is that our education is best for our children, the way we do it today. And those are false myths. One of the things that amazed me about it was I would have thought that the stories about real struggle and real pain would have come from the very bottom of the class. What was amazing was that it was coming through at whatever level these kids were. It came through consistently. The first question I asked parents was, tell me about a time, tell me about your child in school or doing something related to school, and tell me what you see. What images come to mind? And what was amazing was with that first question, every parent told me about struggle and pain. Every parent. Didn't matter where they were in the bottom 80. I think laziness is about boredom. It's about a lack of interest. So when you don't pursue something, you're basically saying, I'm not very interested in this. I bet when you started doing film, you went far above and beyond what you actually needed to do. In other words, you might have worked much harder than you needed to for a particular film, or even if, let's say, if you took a class, you might have worked much harder than you needed to because you were interested in it, you were motivated about it, maybe you felt good about how you were doing with it. So I think a lot of laziness, quote unquote, I don't think it's actually laziness, because as I said, what I found with these kids is I found kids who are unbelievably self-motivated when they're interested. And when we really look at the situations, I gave some examples here today, but we've got Nobel Prize winners who were terrible students. One had Asperger's. So you've got people like Winston Churchill who didn't do well in school, or Einstein. You know, probably the guy that, if you asked everyone to think of who's the most brilliant mind of our century, you would probably say Einstein. And yet he said he doesn't think in words, so he had trouble learning through words. So I think the data says that there is not a connection between academic performance and success in life, especially if you define success in life as being happy and healthy, living a joyous life. When I interviewed parents and talked to them about their kids and what their kids are doing and how their kids learn, what I found was these kids in the bottom 80, they're unbelievably hardworking. Some of them are unbelievably intelligent and gifted. It just doesn't always show up in a school setting.